Hello and welcome back to Gapey's Garden. Today we're going to take a look at the fig trees. I haven't posted an update on these guys in a little while. I was hoping to have some ripe fruit to show you, but I still don't have any just yet. Hopefully maybe later this month I'll have some. But let's start by looking at the ones that I started from cuttings this year. So here, this one here and this one here are the Bourjasotte Grises, if that's how you say it. But I got these cuttings off of a tree that I already had potted. So the cuttings are doing really well. Both of them, they might have some tiny figs on them, but they're definitely too small. You can see here, there's one there. It's definitely too small to ripen, so I'll probably just snap that off. But they're both doing really well. They are drying out really fast. I am having to water these every day because they get pretty dry, and I think that's probably what's causing some of this curl. But they're pretty bone dry pretty much every day, so they probably could get up potted into some bigger containers. That way they'll have more soil and they won't dry out as fast. So I might repot those at some point in the next few weeks or so. And then here we have the Marseilles Black VS. This is the really fat cutting that I rooted from IV Organics, and it took to the repotting really well. I have a video on the repotting of that I posted a few weeks ago. It's got a lot of new growth since I repotted it, and more growth coming out there. Obviously no figs on that, but probably next year we might see some figs on there. But I'm really happy with how it's been doing since I got it repotted. And then the last one that I still have from cuttings is this Desert King. And the Desert King I started in, I believe, January, and we actually do have a good size fig on there. I'm not sure if it's going to reach maturity or not, but this one also is drying out fairly fast. It's in a bigger container, so I'm definitely going to get this guy in the ground probably in the spring, next spring, after all the frost is gone. But I'm really, I mean, that was a pretty thick cutting as well, but I'm really happy with how that one is doing. It's got a ton of new growth and more coming out there. A really nice looking fig, and this is probably the most popular fig here in the Pacific Northwest. It's really productive and has a large breva, a really tasty breva fig on it. So let's take a look at this one over here. So this one is a cutting that I think was probably started either early this year or maybe late last year that I won on our fig forum. This one is the Nero 600M, and I did try to root a cutting of this actually from I think in March or so, but it ended up not making it. But we actually do have a fig on it, and it's a really dark colored fig. Again, I'm not sure if that's going to reach maturity since this is its first year. I don't think there's any other figs on it, but if there are any others coming out, I'm just going to snap those off because they won't reach maturity this year. So that one is looking really well. And then these are two that I got from a local person here, and he also gave me these nice self-watering pots, which are nice and big and I think perfect size for figs. This one here is the Bourjasotte Grise, so this is the one that I took the cuttings from. It had I think it was kind of towards the base of the tree. I just cut off, and then I snapped that one, or cut that one cutting in two, and that's how I got those other figs. So this one has quite a few figs on it, and they're getting pretty good size, so I'm not sure how big they get, but I'm hoping they're going to get close to reaching maturity here pretty soon. But this one is doing really good. I think there's just 2 branches on there, but each branch is loaded with fruit. And then the next one next to it I got from the same person, and also in one of these self-watering pots. This one is the figo preto, which is supposed to be a really tasty fig. It's got only one fig on this branch, but this other branch has, I think, 5 figs, and they're getting pretty good size. So I'm hoping they will ripen up here in the next, I don't know, month or so. Summer is almost coming to an end, so I may need to move these into the greenhouse once it starts cooling down. We've actually had temperatures down to 42 degrees already in the last couple of days, but it's still pretty warm during the day. And then over here we have a pretty good size tree with lots of fruit. This is the Ronde Bordeaux, which is pretty well known for being a pretty productive tree. So I may put this one in ground next year as well. But we have quite a few fruits, and I don't think these get very big. So hopefully they will get ripe here pretty soon. But we've got at least 1 or 2, even 3 figs on each of these branches. We've got quite a few branches. There's another branch back here that's just loaded with fruit. So it's a pretty good size tree with lots of fruit on it. So we'll have to see how that one does. But this is another one that dries out really fast, and it's in a pretty decent size pot. I think that's a 5-gallon maybe pot, and I did repot that about a month or 2 ago. So it's still drying out fast, so I think it needs to go in ground. And then here we have Kathleen's Black, and we have some pretty good sized figs on that one too. I'm just waiting for these guys to ripen up. We've got another one that's smaller. I'm thinking about actually taking that one off because it's much smaller than the others, and I don't think that's going to ripen. So all we do is just snap that off. So that's not gonna, pretty sure that's not gonna ripen. And we've got another little guy over here, so I'm just gonna snap that off. Oh, it just fell off actually. So that wouldn't have reached maturity anyway. But hopefully these other guys will get all the energy from the plant and ripen up for me. And then next we have the Olympian, and we've got a few fruits on that one here. We've got 2 up here and then another 2 over here. There's been a few small ones that I've already taken off, and it looks like there's a teeny tiny one here that I'm just gonna snap off because that's not gonna reach maturity. So that's kind of how I've been getting these to hopefully reach maturity, is just cutting off any figs that are really small that I know aren't going to get big. And then lastly we have this guy here. So I had some problems with this one. This is a Takoma violet, and I dug this one up out of the ground, and it was in a pot with ground soil since I got it, and I think that was making it not so happy. I was fertilizing it, but the leaves were getting really kind of brown and just not very good, and some of them have already dropped off. Even some of the newer growth is looking not great. So I did finally get this repotted into some better potting mix, the same one that I have all the other fig cuttings in, which is the Pro Mix, and then I added some other fertilizers and stuff to it. So hopefully that will help, but it really is not looking good. I think it did have some, yeah, it still has a few figs on it. That repotting might have shocked it, so I'm not sure if they're going to reach maturity. I did have one other fig on here that already fell off, so I'm not expecting that one to reach maturity because of the repotting and just all the kind of the unhappy soil that it was in. So that is, I believe, all the figs that we have. I almost forgot to show you my in-ground fig. This is the lattarula, or honey fig it's called, and is my only in-ground fig for now, but I'll be adding a couple more in-ground as I mentioned before. But this is a fairly young tree, and it didn't get any fruits this year. It does have a lot of new growth, so it's looking pretty happy. I have been giving it some fertilizer along with the container figs about every 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm using an IV Organics fertilizer, which has both micro and macronutrients, which I think is really important. But they seem to be liking that fertilizer. I am getting a little bit of damage, or maybe it's just old leaves that are drying out. It's sharing a bed with my squash, which is butternut, and I've also got some delicata in here. So they're pretty much filling in this bed, and I think they may be helping, I think, because they're covering up some of the soil so it's not drying out as fast and as if it were bare. I do have some wood chip mulch in there as well to help hold in the moisture, but it still dries out fairly fast, but I think it's doing a lot better than it would if it wasn't here. So I may plant squash in here again next year, but maybe not quite as many. But yeah, the fig is doing really well in here. Hopefully next year we'll see some fruits on it. And I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.